The webinar is now live. Attendees, wow, they're flowing in. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. And I'm just thinking there may be some maybe from Yasmina or maybe Maya or somebody. Maybe you can log in also. See if we're doing good as an attendee. I don't know if that's possible. But welcome, people. We're here already. You're probably seeing the panel and everybody that's going to be involved. But in a moment, we're going to switch to our webinar. We're going to start our webinar. Make sure you get a pencil and some paper, because you're going to probably take copious of notes today. So make sure you have paper with you. Some nice drawing tools. Have those with you. Get comfortable. Grab a glass of water. Enjoy the music. And while we're also in the session, when we're going to start, definitely throw questions in the Q&A. We'll keep our eye on that. Participants are flowing in. It's like a little ticker. It almost feels like I'm on Instagram Live, like 130, 140, just coming in. Look at that.
You're getting a dopamine hit, Casper.
I know. Here, I'm randomly going to call out people. Jackie Love, hello. One of the 200. Julia Klingspoor, hello. That person is now behind the webinar going like, oh my God, you're seeing me. I'm seeing your name in the participant list. That's about it. Oh, I like this name. Manuela Manduni. It's a beautiful name. Welcome. Oh, here we're getting hellos back in the chat. Great. So many brands here today. So many people. Welcome. There we go. Walking in. We'll give it a 2 minutes in total. So a lot of people, including me very often, you know, we have the Zoom link and then you go from meeting to meeting and then suddenly a meeting, you're like, oh God, I have to go to the next meeting. So you literally click the button at the time. So 4 o'clock, you click the button, Zoom opens, etc. So you still need to come in. That will take always a little bit. What's our cutoff time, Gwen? What would you say? 2 past 4?
2 past sounds good to me.
2 past 4. And maybe in the meantime, while you're getting ready, it's a great time to close your email, put away your phone, close Slack especially, and then get ready for this amazing launch of the Circular Toolbox that's going to start. Let's see if we're going to hit 500 before that time. And I'm just curious, we didn't even speak about it. Is the recording going to be made available?
Yes,
yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. And of course the toolbox at the end today. That's the most exciting thing. Oh, I love it. A lot of people are raising their hand and I feel it's more like saying, hi. Hi.
Greetings from Serbia. And
exactly.
Scotland.
There you go. Wonderful. Okay, so it's almost 2 past. We've gone through welcome and housekeeping.
Canada.
Like I said, for people who just came in now, the other 150 who came in, make sure you have pencil and paper for some notes. Get comfortable. There's going to be a panel. We're going to be doing different things. We're even going to do some exercises. This is not only your typical hang back, hang loose type of webinar. We're going to do a few things. So make sure you're here and present. All right, it's 2 past. Shall we start, Gwen? Kick it off. I will share my screen, and for now, so that the pop-ups and the little notifications come in, I'm just gonna turn off the chat, and then I'm gonna turn it on again in a moment. Here we go. There we go. So, welcome everybody to the webinar, the Circular Toolbox, where we're going to launch today this amazing tool that we've worked on for, I would say, I mean, it is a journey from the last 10 months, but it's been in the works for almost 2 years, this whole project. So we have a group of amazing panelists from the 4 brands here present, and I will just walk you through the agenda here. So the beginning is just, we're going to do a little check-in. We're going to get a little introduction around the Circular Toolbox and how everything looks. Then we do a bit of an expert interview together with Gwen and Helene, who were a big part of developing the Circular Toolbox. And then after that, at 16:20, we'll do a brand panel with 4 representatives of the brands. Then we have our ruffle moment, and we will launch the toolbox. And we'll include you also, how can you get started? But before we do that, we're here, I mean, there's still people popping in. We're almost with 350 people here now. So while people pop in, we're going to do a little check-in. And the check-in here is, if you take your phone or you go to a website, both can work. So if you have your Zoom full screen, then you have to escape your Zoom and open a web browser, but even much easier is just hover your phone, and I will count down 5 seconds, hover your phone and scan this QR code, because what we're going to do is we're going to answer a question in a moment. So we're going to scan this QR code. Just hover your phone over it. It will say open Safari or open Chrome or whatever type of phone you are, and then it will ask you a question. And the question is, here, we're already seeing it coming in. Who's in the room today? Look at that. You are also technological savvy. If you are, of course, on Zoom with your phone, if you have your phone open and you have Zoom there, it will be very difficult to scan a QR code at the same time. So we're just going to take this as a representative number of everybody who's here. If I see the other tab rising, I'm very curious what other means. Maybe these people are from completely different industries, hopefully toy companies and other things. So we have a bunch of apparel brands, consultancy, research and academia, government, only a little bit, a bunch of students, and a lot of other also. So I'm just going to flip back for 1 second, because some people might not have seen the QR code. So if you scan this QR code, I'm going to ask you another question. So I'm going to give you, maybe that was way too quick for you. Sometimes I get that remark, I'm too quick. So then you can just scan this QR code and then you can participate, because I'm going to ask 2 more questions. And there, it's still coming in. We're going to have a look back at it in a moment. But we're going to go to the second question then, and that's going to automatically pop up on your phone. And the second question is, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? That's a very deep question. Don't overcomplicate it. Just ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Here you go. Awesome, great. Should I take the vaccine or not? You know, is there anything good on Netflix? Maybe you're asking all these type of questions, but for right now, look at what's coming in here with about 400 people. It's a lot of excitement going on. I love it. Happy, also some people tired. Somebody wants to go home. Oh, you're not remote working, you're not at home. I think all of us want to go to the office because we've been in the home for about a year. Eager to learn, optimistic. This is great. Weekend vibes. I'm ready for a gin tonic. I'm having my mushroom latte, you know. So, but full on. You're absolutely right. It's Thursday, 4 o'clock. It's about time for a gin tonic. Absolutely. Nice to see here. Wow, almost 220 people have already filled in, but then we get a vibe where everybody is. It's a whole big spectrum, but a lot of people are very excited and eager to learn and very curious about what we have in store for you. So we're going to go to the third question now. And the third question is, my biggest challenge when working with circular business models, my biggest challenge with working with circular business models or with circularity is, so that third question should have popped up on your phone and you should have an idea how to fill it in. Great. Also after, we'll make an export of these slides, and so we get a bit of an idea. But I love this real-time collaboration with so many people that's possible. Huh? It's like a group mind coming in. So many ideas. Closing the loop, the clients, accessibility is missing. There's so much complexity. I see complexity. You see also in the middle, cost and technology is popping up because it's more and more people are filling that one in. Complexity and cost. So yeah, stakeholders. So many interesting features there. Great. So that was our little check-in. And we'll go back to the presentation now. And then for one moment, I will hand it over to Gwen. Gwen.
Yes, thanks, Casimir. Yeah, just before we really launch in, I thought it would be good to land us with some of the basics because probably some of you know us very well at Circular Economy and others might not. So a quick introduction. And for those who don't know us, Circular Economy is an impact organization based out of Amsterdam, but working globally. And all of our work focuses really on enabling businesses, cities, and nations in the practical implementation of the circular economy. Now, everything that we are going to touch on today is from the Textiles Program, which was founded in 2014 as the first sector-specific program within the organization. And what you see here on the slide is our own mission as a textiles program, which is to achieve a zero waste industry. But we do this from two different lenses. So on one hand, we look at the existing textile waste momentum that we have, whether that's post-consumer, pre-consumer, post-industrial waste, and how do you actually build the technology, the data, the infrastructure that you need to valorize that textile waste at scale. Then on the other hand, we take a more, you could call it a more proactive approach, thinking how do you actually prevent textile waste from being generated in the first place? And that's where we work mostly with retailers, brands, manufacturers, producers, people who make product, to help them to assess and adopt circular strategies, specifically circular design, but also circular business models, which is of course the topic of today. So very, very brief, but hopefully that helps to land us a little bit.
Thank you. So do you want to introduce us? Should I introduce us? All three, maybe we'll introduce us in the expert. Like then we can all three introduce us when we're there.
Sure.
That's maybe the best. So we're gonna do a short sort of expert interview with Helene, Gwen, and me. I will ask them some questions to how this all came about. So let me stop the share, and then I want to ask the panelists who will come in a moment just to turn off their cameras, turn off your video, and then hopefully, we've tested this before, but hopefully everybody in the webinar will only see me, Gwen, and Helene. Good. And if also during the expert interview that we're doing now, and also during the panelist session, definitely ask questions in the Q&A. We really have to see time-wise if there's a lot of space to be addressing those questions, but don't worry, we're going to answer all those questions with frequently asked questions afterwards, and we'll send an email with all those answers towards everybody who participated. That's how I have it right, no?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So let me ask you, Gwen, first question. Looking at this big project that you've been involved in there, where did this all begin? What first inspired you in this work?
Well, maybe if I'm going to answer it from my very personal perspective to start. So I think for me, I've always had a little bit of a love affair with this idea of rental and resale. So I'm a designer by trade, and I think I realized quite early on as a designer that, you know, no matter what good effort I made, all the work I put into building products for circularity, so building a product that is built for durability or built to be recyclable, all of that good intention at the end of the day would never come to fruition unless there was an underlying circular business model there to actually enable the product to live a long and a useful life. And that was kind of heartbreaking as a designer to realize that, yes, I can do this work on a product level, but there's a bigger system at play that I cannot necessarily influence. And so I think that's the kind of the switch I made from thinking about product design to thinking more about system design. And these two things come really hand in hand. So that's more from maybe the topic, like why is the topic so important and what has inspired me to delve into circular business models. But then the approach that we took is also maybe something to note. So Elaine and myself have been working together for many years, I think almost 10 years now in this circularity space, and working a lot with brands to help them, what I said before, assess and adopt circular strategies. And our experience there taught us that the why of the circular economy is quite well known, but the how is still largely unanswered. And we saw firsthand through a lot of the projects we were doing that it was not enough to just, give knowledge, give information to brands on this topic. That, kind of change, like real change, happened when knowledge was acted on, and that action really actually needs to be kind of crafted. It needs to be carefully designed and managed. And so it was that in mind that we decided to build out this, what we call the circular innovation process, in the belief, I suppose, that if you combined circular expertise with design thinking methodology, with some, a dash of kind of team leadership, that you'd help brands to really move that intent to action. So that was also part of our thinking.
Great, thank you. It pops up like 2 or 3 other questions that I hadn't even thought of. But maybe we can see after.
You can add them in the chat.
I can add them in the Q&A. But I wanted to ask Helene first, sort of what happened in the Switching Gear project in the last months, this big project, and what were sort of the big challenges that you saw in the project, but also that you saw for yourself?
Yeah, so to get an idea of what we did in the past, I think it's a year and a half in total or something, is this circular innovation process. We kind of built that around a set of masterclasses, and we took the 4 brands that were part of this project on this kind of journey through a series of masterclasses. We kicked off end of 2019 in Amsterdam with the first kickoff, everybody coming together, which was really great because I think this was a really good moment to share with each other this, your intention, Gwen, but from a personal perspective and from a professional perspective, like, why are we doing this? And also, have that as the basis for commitment to this journey. And I think some of this might be forgotten or not, some projects don't put the full focus on this, but I think that really benefited us all in the end. But then COVID happened. And so that was probably the first big challenge, because we were supposed to do all these masterclasses in person, but then, we couldn't travel, we couldn't meet anyone. So, we had to turn this whole thing upside down and put it online, which actually worked really well. There was some hilarious moments on Zoom that we can all relate to by now, but I think we managed. I mean, I think for us, the challenge was to bring this all online and make it engaging, even though we're behind the computer all day for the brands. It was a challenge because they all had kind of limited capacity and were in crisis mode, and still were kind of venturing on an innovation project, which I think is really a testament to that strong commitment that we said at the beginning, and that we kind of held on together. And very proud that they made it through the end.
Wonderful. I feel there. I feel there. Most people can probably relate to the similar challenges we've all been into, of course, around that. And maybe the third question would be sort of, if you look at the difficulty and sort of the complexity that a lot of these type of projects always run in. Gwen, you already mentioned it. We're talking systems design, we're talking product design, we're talking design thinking, we're talking leadership, org change, etc., etc. So a lot of moving factors and a lot of complexity. What keeps you going? What keeps you going?
Coffee?
In this
No.
project?
Coffee?
No, but I do think that, I mean, just elaborating on what Gwen said, I think we have a very strong sense of urgency, and I think that's kind of the thing that gets us up out of bed every day. We see, you know, the problems in the industry every day, and actually not only in this industry, but you know, across the globe. And so I think that's the biggest motivator for me personally, and I think, I mean, if I speak for the both of us, to drag ourselves out of bed and to do this. And I think on the, you know, the other side of the coin is not only to see the problems, but to also see the opportunity, and to really understand, you know, there are strategies that we can apply, and okay, let's then focus on that, empower people, and give people the tools, and help people to apply that. I think that's it's been very rewarding to do that, so that helps.
Good. You, Gwen?
Yeah, the only thing, I mean, I 100% agree with
Oh,
what
you sound very far away.
Your sound is a kind of a.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think it's a little plug thing. No. No.
No. Something happened with the audio. That's fine. Let me just let Gwen fix that for a moment, and then Helene, let me just ask you. One of the things that I'm curious about hearing you both also is how far do you think the industry is already in sort of adapting all these practices? In the sense, if I hear systems thinking, design thinking, leadership, etc., that sounds quite complex. And are we at 10%? Are we at 50%? Where are we with these things?
I'll let Gwen answer this one. I think your audio works again.
Does it work?
Yes.
I don't know, did I pick up on your full question, Casimir, but I might tie them together. Because the thing I was going to add to what Elaine said in terms of what keeps us going, I think we are both, and also I think the nature of circular economy, like very practical, like let's get our hands dirty. We don't have time to spare. Let's try something, see if it works. And if it does work, let's see if we can scale what we found out, whether those are insights or tools or materials. So I think that's this model that we've built also, which Switching Gear is a good example of, whereby you really work with you know, a handful of front runners to test something on the ground, and then take all the insights and knowledge that you gain from that and open source it and make it available for everyone. I think that open access kind of mentality is also, for me, also as an educator, what really drives me here. How circular are we? I think that's maybe a question that I heard you ask as well, Casimir.
How far? Yeah, how far is the industry, would you say, with all these tools and these? Are we at 5%, 10%? Where are we? How much is there still to be?
Yeah, I mean, the industry, I can't give a total solid figure. We know from our circularity gap initiative at Circular Economy that we are around the 9% circular. So there's a huge gap that we need to fill. I think when it comes to the apparel industry, what we're seeing, or how I would classify it, is that we're kind of in this R&D phase where there's you know, a lot of activity happening, but it's not really all coordinated or connected just yet. So to give you an example, there, for instance, might be brands who are really pushing on new materials or circular design, but they haven't thought about the circular business model yet, or they're going whole hog for a closed loop supply chain, but they're not thinking about transparency, for instance. So I think it's very ad hoc, lots of moving parts, but not really embracing, let's say, the full concept and linking these things together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you both so much. The one thing that I really get from both of you here answering these questions is your motivation and your inspiration to do this work. And I really want to thank you for that work. We're going to dive in now and to see, and this is also probably, I don't know, have the panelists seen this already, Helene? The little video? No,
it's
so
a
there's a little
surprise.
surprise. There you go. So
I hope they like it.
We're going to go and have a little look on sort of a reflection video of the whole journey from the last 10 months. Let's see. Here we go. Most new products will fail in the market, period.
Are you in or are you out? Because with this project, we're going to go on a arduous, difficult, uphill journey, like climbing the Himalaya.
Our very mission is to slow down consumption. We want more people to buy fewer items and have them last longer.
We also saw that this makes business sense, and we see an opportunity here.
Altruism is the most powerful of all of those motivating factors if you can get it right.
Any final thoughts before we kind of enter into the concepting phase?
What's important to us is that we do this, we do it quick, we can go big, we can lean on other people's expertise.
Somebody's at the door, there's an emergency, a young kid jumps on your back or a cat sits on your shoulder. We understand. High five to the webcam. There you go. Great, wonderful. So that was a little look back at sort of the last almost 18 months in total, but especially the last year with the whole Zoom journey also. We're going to have a panel conversation. Most new products will fail in the market. And we have the switching gear panel with 4 people, Asket, with August, Kuyichi with Zoe, Lindex with Annette, and ATP with Nancy. And Gwen and Helene will, we say in Dutch, ask them the shirt off their body. That's a Dutch funny way of saying it. Yeah.
I get you, Casimir.
You get me. Probably 100 people in the room get me. The rest just think like stupid Dutch joke. Also true. So we're gonna do that now. Let me just set it up so that we can see everybody at the same time.
You can turn on your cameras again.
Exactly.
Then we can see you. Great.
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
How annoying is it to see yourself on screen? No, just joking.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I got little like goosebumps looking back on that video. Really nice to like reflect and see how far we've come. So I'm going to kind of introduce in a little bit more detail and then kick off the line of questioning. But for those listening, you know, we have basically been working very closely with these 4 wonderful brands over the past year and a half to guide and support you guys in the design and launch of these circular business models, which are all coming to fruition this year. And you've all been on this circular innovation process that we've discussed. So that's why we want to ask you how you found it. And I'm so delighted to be joined by you. So we have August, co-founder of Asket, and Asket is an independent Swedish menswear brand with the mission to slow down the fashion industry through honest production, transparent pricing, and revolutionary sizing. Then representing the Kuyichi team, we have Zoe, who's the sustainability manager there. And Kuyichi is the first ever organic denim brand with a simple stance of timeless essentials fairly made to last. Then delighted to have Annette representing the very large Lindex team that we had. And Annette is the strategy lead for circularity and environmental sustainability at Lindex. And Lindex, as you probably well know, are a very established Scandinavian fashion chain and a Swedish family favorite with approximately 480 stores in 18 markets. So you guys were really the big players in our group. And last but not least, we have Nancy joining us from ETP, and ETP are a Dutch corporate wear brand, and they deliver uniforms to esteemed clients like Carré, the Waldorf Astoria, and ABN AMRO. So Thank you all for joining us. And I want to kick off. Oh, Elaine?
But before we kick off, if you have any questions also for the brands, in the meantime, the Q&A is open. So please drop in your questions right there.
Thanks, Deb. I want to kick off with you, Zoe. I would love if you could tell us a little bit about why you decided to develop a circular business model and to join the Switching Gear project.
Well, hello, everybody. Nice that you could all join us. Well, for Kuyichi, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like, we were thinking about circularity in all kinds of aspects already, thinking about circular business models as well, but we did not know how to start, actually. So what we try to do is really make products and make them to last as long as possible, but we actually don't know how long they actually last and where they end up. So for us, it's really a way to see also what happens with our clothing after we made them and after people wear them. And it's an opportunity for us to get feedback on our products and see how we can make them last even longer and really take charge of that part. So I think that was the main thoughts behind joining the Switching Gear project. And what we also liked is that by doing this with an extra partner, Circle Economy, you actually get a driver also behind the project. At Kuyichi, we're really ad hoc. We always do everything that pops up in our mind. But sometimes it's nice to have somebody to actually see it through. So that's also what was really helpful for us. Yeah.
We held you to account.
We sometimes call ourselves like your personal trainer, like the you actually do the just joking.
No, I now have a Helene and a Gwen voice in my head saying push forward.
One more. Thanks, Zoe. And I have actually a question for Annette from Lindex. And Lindex is the biggest, and we have a dog participating in the webinar. That's good. So Lindex is the biggest brand kind of the bunch. And so I think it's very interesting to know, like, for a bigger brand like yours, what were the challenges in getting started, and also to get kind of that ownership and commitment to start from the organization?
Yes, thank you, and so good to be here, and so fantastic to see the video. Thank you. And I think that actually the biggest challenge I think we share with the other brands, that we had to also free up the resources, because we needed a cross-functional team and we needed resources from many different departments. And we also realized that this project is going to touch a lot of different functions throughout the organization. So this was a challenge also for us. But another thing is also maybe that I think it took us a little longer maybe to get the team aligned, because as I said, we were team members coming from different departments with different perspectives and different skills. So I think maybe getting aligned took a little longer. But on the other hand, I think this was also one of the key benefits of having this setup, because we really built knowledge and anchored this whole project throughout the organization. And I think it contributed a lot to building knowledge on what circular transformation means, because it touches everything. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And by the way, I think for all the brands, if you want to know more exactly about the case studies or how they went through it, they are also available on the Circular Toolbox. And then a question for August. In terms of the financial viability, I think it's interesting to maybe hear from you. How important is that actually for Asket, and maybe what are some of the things that you learned around the key levers for the business case?
Absolutely. So in terms of the importance of financial viability, I would kind of split it into two areas of consideration. One is that our mission is to end the era of fast consumption by way of garments that are designed to last a lot longer, both in terms of design and quality. And as a niche brand and online only, we can only reach so many people. So a big part of our job, the way we see it, is to inspire others to follow. And if there's no financial viability in a take back or resale or circular business model that we launch, then it'll be very hard to inspire others to do the same. Secondly, the other consideration is, of course, our internal consideration as an organization. We've only been around for 5-6 years. We're a fast growing company. We only just turned a profit last year for the first time in 6 years. We don't have huge resources. And while a circular business model, and in our case, a take back and resell program, doesn't need to have huge profit margins, we want it to be at least self-sufficient and at least sort of break even. And then we'll be super happy because otherwise it'll be a cash drain that we can't subsidize with our already slim margins in our general business model. As for levers to financial viability, in our specific case, as an online only business with no stores and no wholesale network, no physical locations to take back goods, it's a lot about the logistics. So it'll be about how many items we get back per take back, how much do we fill into that shipment to make it worthwhile, how many of those goods are actually resellable. Because while we don't expect everything to be resellable, some things will have to be sort of recycled. We need some to be resellable to make it financially sustainable. And then, of course, for the goods that are resellable, what is the expected secondhand sales price of those goods? Those are basically the three most important levers for us.
Yeah. Great, thank you for reflecting on that. And I have a final question, or next, not a final question, but I have also a question for Nancy from ETP. Aside from the business case that needs to be right and the model needs to work well, we also want to design models that actually are doing good, so they have a net positive impact on the environment, also from a social perspective. And I wonder how you are approaching that from ETP's perspective. Like, how are you safeguarding that, and how are you tracking that your model does what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, I think as the only business-to-business company in this project, we are kind of in a unique position because we know exactly where all of our garments are, where and with who. And also because the employees of our customers are not allowed to throw the uniform away, everything comes back to us. So for us, it's quite normal to get everything back. But then you have, of course, the sorting of all the items, and there has to be a check what can be reused. So after some consideration, we decided to do this ourselves, at least in the first period of the pilot, so we can have a visual check. And this, I think, if we do this, we can learn a lot, because we can see how the garments look after a certain period of time. And what we will do, we will gather all this information in the first year, and I think this will give us a very good view about the quality of everything that comes back. And then our expectation is that 20 to 40% of the items, let's say, that are not worn on the skin, because we make a difference there, that 20 to 40% of the items can be reused. And that is the expectation in the second year. So the first year of the pilot, we will try to get as many items back as possible. And then at the second year of the project, we can really use it, because we need enough pieces per size to get this started. We can closely watch this over the years. And what we can also measure, and that is quite interesting, I think, is how the production of new items will decrease, because we know exactly how much we normally make per customer per year. We have all these numbers for example, our customer where we launched the project, ABN AMRO. We've been doing their uniform for over 10 years. So we have a lot of numbers about how much we make per year. So it will be very interesting to see how this will decrease when we start the reuse project. And actually our expectation is that the production will be at least 20% less. So production of new items, 20% less over the contract period of 4 years. So that's the period that one collection lasts. And
That's amazing.
Yeah, we can see after 4 years if this is true.
I hope it's true, or even more, that it
achieves
or it exceeds the expectation. Thank you so much, Nancy, for that.
I'm going to jump in now, actually, and kind of start to draw us to a close. And one of the things that I would love for you to reflect on is more thinking about the people who are listening today. So we have over 400 listening. We know that a big chunk of those are brands who are probably looking to you as inspiration of that could be me, or could it, ? And of course, the toolbox is trying to help those brands. So maybe, maybe Annette, if you had to reflect on what was the value of this circular innovation process for Lindex, what would you say?
Again, I would echo that this whole anchoring and building knowledge about circular transformation throughout the organization was one very big value. And also the whole process itself, this really step-by-step approach that got us from ID to reality. And I think we could just trust the process. And as you said in the beginning, that with COVID-19 happening as well, and we managed to push this through anyhow. And I think that, so we are looking at all these steps now when we look at new models that we are looking at. So it's really good to have a how.
That's great. So you're going to use the same process, the same tools to just innovate the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, before this journey, we had done some tests, but I think it's great to use all of these steps.
Thanks, Ned. We're coming up just on time, so I have one last question, which is, and maybe you can keep it brief and snappy and really like a direct answer around what would be one piece of advice that you give to brands listening and considering if they want to follow in your footsteps. And I give the word to Zoe first and then August, please.
Well, my number one advice would be to really find the people in your company that get energy from only the idea of circular business models already. So find the people that become enthusiastic, that want to drive this, because it takes a lot of effort to push this through. So you want to have the people that align with you on this intrinsically.
Thanks, Zoe. August.
I'd say that, if circular business model in some way isn't already an integral part of your mission, you need to make it an integral part of your mission, because if it's not at the highest level of your agenda as a business, no matter your size, it's going to be very hard to motivate pulling through with it.
Great. Thank you both. Thank you all. And I'm going to give the word back to Casimir.
Thank you so much, panelists and everybody. For now, also, if we're back in gallery view and things like that, indeed, there's a bunch of Q&As I saw come in. We're already at 22 sort of questions that haven't been answered yet. There are way more questions already came in, and Maya has been diligently answering them. But we'll route them back also past the brand and past the Circle team. And then we'll send out an update, sort of a frequently asked question type of update to all the participants. So before we move onwards, just join me and take a big stretch. Take a big stretch. Oh God, these webinars, computer time, pixel time, all that kind of stuff. So take a few deep breaths also for yourself. It's tough not being in the office, of course. Where you can go to the coffee machine and all this stuff. Now you're just behind your desk. make sure you get oxygen inside of your brain. And then we're going to go into the last part. It's 1640. We're going into the last part. And for that, we're of course going to have the very, very exciting moment of launching the Circular Toolbox. And we have to get some excitement in there, of course.
Yeah, if we were in person, we'd be cutting a ribbon, right?
There you go. So we count down together. 10, 9,
6,
8, 5. It's all different probably for everybody. Wherever however that video comes across for you. It's almost as exciting as Elon Musk sending one of his big rockets into space. But what we're going to do is, of course, officially launch the Circular Toolbox. There you go. Big applause. And it is almost like a ribbon. We should have like some sort of big scissors that we could click it through. Yeah, so I would like to hand it over to Helene and Gwen together to guide us a little bit through what we're going to be seeing when the website opens.
Thank you, Casimir. Yeah, I think digital launches are a bit more underwhelming than an actual physical launch, but what we are launching is definitely not underwhelming. So really, really excited to show this to the world today. And we are also actually very proud that we're able to offer this toolbox open source, free to everybody, open to use. And I think that's really something that we are proud of that we're able to do. The Circular Toolbox. It's a step-by-step guide to design and launch a rental or resale business model. And it really guides you through a tried and tested innovation process that we were just discussing, that we did with the 4 brands that you were just hearing. And it includes all the workshop materials and the resources that you'll need. And it will take you on a journey towards the launch of your circular business model that is financially competitive, impact driven, and that also delights and engages your customer or the user. And what does it consist of? Well, it consists of these 5 modules, and all these modules then have different steps, and they're all different tools associated with these steps. And I think what's really cool is we also created a podcast series called the Switching Gear Podcast. You can access this through Spotify, but also, when you go through every module, it will direct you to an episode. So every module has a podcast episode where the brands reflect on how they went through that step. So you can really learn from them through that podcast. The 5 steps are getting started, understanding the customer and market, prototyping your concept, then fine-tuning your business model, and finally then piloting your business model or getting ready for the pilot. From our own experience in guiding the 4 brands on this journey, we really have curated and prepared only the most essential tools for you to get you from start to pilot launch. And you can do this within 10 months or approximately 10 months, approximately 42 weeks. This gives you about 2 months per step, actually. What you can see here is the time that it takes to execute the different tools. So for example, for module 1, that's 5.5 hours per person to complete all the tools of that module. However, this does not include the time that it takes you to execute on some of the tools. For example, module 3, you are designing your prototype, but it doesn't include the time to actually run your prototype. So please take that into consideration. This time is not yet included. But if you want to have an idea of what the total time is that it would take you, like the total human resource time, you can visit the toolbox, and there's a tool inside module 1, internal MOU, and it will give you all the information, because sometimes you will need this maybe to get sign off of the project. So we'll help you to kind of compute that.
Great. Before I move to the next slide, can you move your mic a little bit off your shirt?
I'm sorry.
There you
Yes.
go. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm going to walk us through kind of each of these modules and just give a little bit more insight on what's housed within them. So if we start with module 1, which is around getting started, the topics covered in this module is understanding the urgency, understanding circular business models, as Elaine said, getting sign off from the top. So how do you get that commitment from your senior management? Selecting and getting to know your team, as we heard from Annette, really important. It touches on multiple parts of the organization. And then establishing your goals and your success criteria. So what's the dot on the horizon? So here, module 1 provides you with a common foundational knowledge of the circular economy and a thorough understanding of circular business models, their different archetypes, the impact potential, and the best practice that's out there. But it also equips you with a clear understanding of the journey ahead and the resources and the buy-in that you need to get started. Then module 2 is where the rubber really starts to hit the road. This is, of course, when you're starting to try to understand kind of the space that you're going to operate in and the need. So here we're covering things like identifying and understanding your target customer and market, generating customer and market insights, and then moving from those customer and market insights into initial concept development. So you're really getting a thorough understanding of the resale and rental market, as well as your customers' pains and gains and jobs to be done, because that's what you're really going to hook onto when you start to kind of ideate and generate potential circular business model concepts. So it also guides you in that, going through that whole kind of design sprint process to translate these key insights into an initial value proposition and an initial circular business model concept. Then module 3, my personal favorite, is around doing things, getting your hands dirty. It's around building a prototype. So here you're learning how to design and test a prototype. And it allows you to understand the steps that the user will take in interacting with your rental resale journey. So you're really building out kind of a customer journey map. And then you're designing an early, inexpensive and scaled down version of your model so that you can test and validate your value proposition with the user. And that's going to give you so much rich data and insight, which will help you to refine things as you move to module 4. Module 4 is fine-tuning your business model. So at this stage, you've got your insights and your understanding from your prototype, and you're thinking about the real pilot, the real deal. So here we're looking at things like how to create a business model blueprint, which is a detailed map of your entire business model, how to identify and select partners. Maybe you don't want to do everything yourself, but you're really going to outsource and depend on solution providers, prioritizing customer convenience, building a business case, and safeguarding impact. So this is when you do that final check on, is it hitting on these three key things: the impact, the customer convenience, and the business model. It's guiding you to design a detailed blueprint of your business model, and it's also helping you to check whether your model is financially viable, convenient for the customer, and has a positive impact on people and planet. And then we come to module 5, the last in the series. And this is really then starting to move, I suppose, into that final pilot phase. So how do you tell the story around your model that you've created, and how do you kind of create momentum? So the whole marketing and communications, and also how do you actually build that pilot, and what's the scaling plan post-pilot? Because of course we want these pilots to move beyond pilot stage. That's really what we should keep in the back of our heads. So module 5 is helping you to identify a core messaging hook and translate that into a compelling initiative name and tagline and campaign concept. And it's also helping you then to set ambitions, targets, and time horizons for the pilot launch, but also for the eventual scaling. And I give the word back to Elaine.
So how does it work? I think that's also good to give you a little insight into. And we do that by showing you one of the tools from module 1. Almost all of the tools that you can find in the toolbox are actually housed or hosted in Miro. This is also the platform we use during the masterclasses with the brands. And just like this one. So first you see on the left, the website link to Miro. This is what you will see on the Toolbox website. And it will bring you to a Miro board. And every tool in the Miro board will have a step-by-step guide that you can see in the middle, and a interactive template that you can see on the right. The guidance will tell you what the tool is about, how to use it, provide some helpful tips and tricks, all of that. And then you can take the template and really go. Just like you would do in like a normal in-person work session, you can add post-its to your heart's desire, but then they're virtual post-its. So it's actually maybe also good we are not wasting any paper. And it's actually also very helpful because all the results of your Mio or all the filled out templates, you can easily export them as PDFs, and then you can use them, as reference or even for reporting. You have all your outcomes stored very clearly. We try to think of everything about building all these tools and the toolbox, but of course we're only human. So if it's not instantly clear what you need to do when you start, we do provide several options for you to get in touch with us with feedback and questions. So please take advantage of that when there's something not clear.
Great.
And we do have time. I thought we might not have time, but I'm going to do this really quickly because to get a little taste of how the toolbox works, we thought it would be fun to actually do one of the tools with you in a toned down version because we only have a few minutes and we really only have a few minutes. So this is the same tool that you just saw in the previous slide. It's a tool of module 1, getting started, and part of the last step, establishing your goals. And the aim of this tool is really to help you and your team define clear criteria for success at the start of the project. So now imagine that you have decided to use the toolbox and you start your own circular innovation journey towards the launch of a resale or rental model. You've already completed most of module 1, which means you are part of a dedicated project team. You got sign off of the project. You've gained some more in-depth understanding of resale and rental models and what can be the opportunity for your company. And now it's time to set and define these clear criteria for success with your team. So with this success criteria canvas, we ask you to look through the lenses of your company, of the impact, social and environmental, but also through the lens of your customer, and think of the question, what does a successful rental or resale model look like to us, to you? Please take a moment to read the examples listed here on the canvas and think of what can be some of these overarching success criteria that are important to you, your company, in these different categories. And since we don't have a lot of time, I would just like to ask you to note them down or keep them top of mind. Hopefully, it will be on a post-it somewhere, which you can use when you actually do this tool with your team in the future. And so this is just a little taster. Last but not least, how to then actually get started. So of course, we want you to visit the toolbox. And this is really designed for you to do it yourself, start your own innovation journey, circular innovation journey. So go visit the circulartoolbox.com and you can get all the information there. If you need some support, please get in touch with us and you can explore what tailored guidance and support we can offer. Or you can join the Switching Gear Enabling Network. This is a network of front-running brands, solution providers, innovators that all gather around the same mission to accelerate the adoption and scaling of rental and resale models in the market. Both 2 and 3, also these touch points you can find on the website. So please just visit the website and you can get in touch with us through there.
Great.
Website goes live in 3 minutes. How exciting.
Perfect. All right, so we're gonna go to a round off now in these last 3 minutes, and what I would like you to do is take a moment and grab a piece of paper and a pen, and let me get the panelists also out of the way. You don't have to be in view here if you don't want to. So I'm on speaker view now, so there you go. Should be able, if you, Gwen and Elaine, if you turn off your video, then you're fine out of the screen. So make sure you have a a piece of paper and a pen. And what I would like you to do is I'm going to ask you 4 questions. And I just want you to finish off the question. So thinking back now out of everything that you've heard in these last, let me also put it here in the chat. Thinking back at all these things that you heard the last hour, so you listened to the panelists, you listened to the expert interview, you got a lot of information. The first question to answer is just for you to reflect on something I felt or thought was, just finish for yourself your question. I'm just asking for you, this is intuitive writing and it will help you to make your next step to sort of contain whatever you've learned today, etc. And then the second question is, listening to all of this, listening to Gwen and Helene and all the brands, a question that is emerging for me is, so just play along, go back into your childlike nature and just grab that pen and write a few things down. And then the third one is a bold thing I should do hearing all this is, we are in a creative business, of course, so make sure you apply your creativity here. And the last question, and it will be lovely to see these somewhere. Unfortunately, with Zoom webinars, that's impossible, but draw a picture of your path forward. And after you've done that in this last minute, I've opened the chat again, I would love to write down an insight, a question you had, a bold thing you were going to do, and just throw it in the chat. And just throw it in the chat there while we round this off. And how people, of course, have to go to another meetings, etc. But hopefully, just throw something in the chat. What's a bold thing you're going to do after hearing all this? What's a question that was emerging for you? What was something you felt? What was something you thought during the session? Great. Already some answers popping in. And it's 5 o'clock. I understand if you need to go. I'll just let the chat box run for another minute or two. And let me, at the same time, also there, people can turn on back their video. You can give some last thoughts. Helene, Gwen.
Thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I hope everything was clear, and my hope and dream for the future is that many will use the toolbox and launch their own model. So
good. Wow, here now all the chats are coming in.
Thank
you all so much.
Yes.
Do this. Can we do this for the jewelry industry? I see coming in. Absolutely. I think the toolbox is built for apparel brands, but could work for many
accessories.
industries.
Yeah.
That we can rebrand it towards different industries, Gwen.
Yeah, well, we
Food
deliberately
industry.
just called it Circular Toolbox, agnostic of industries, you know?
Oh, is it also with the examples? Is it agnostic?
No, it's not.
Thank you everybody for joining.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Have
to
a
the panelists
great
also.
evening.
Absolutely. All right. I don't know if I do I have a button of stop webinar? What does it look like? Okay. See you on the other side, people.
Bye.
Bye.